Hi, this is Gregory for photosincolor.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make your masks and selections better by using the Refine Edge tool in Photoshop. Theme tune. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Refine my edge. Refine my edge. Refine the edge and make it clean. Seem to have a bit of a song there today, don't know why. But okay, so inside Photoshop, as we know, we can make selections and turn those into masks. Essentially, you might want to cut somebody out, or you might want to cut a building out, or put an object somewhere and mask a section out. Well, you can do that using so many different ways of making selections inside Photoshop, the Magic Wand tool, you can use the lasso tool, magnetic lasso, focus range, color range, all of these things, and I'm going to have tutorials on all of those. But once you've made that selection, you can actually then go in and refine that edge and make some changes to make it more specific. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. The Refine Edge tool in Photoshop is amazing, but kind of be careful, because it could ruin your image. So let's jump into Photoshop and have a look. So this is part of my Photoshop training course. If you want to get this image and other ones that I use in my Photoshop training, head over to photosincolor.com where you can get the entire course. So here we go. What we're going to do here is we're going to cut this girl out here. Her name is Natalie Osborne. She's amazing. And she's a dancer. I photographed this in the Bahamas. And we're going to cut her out and put her on a different background. But we can see we've got some challenges with this image, okay? The challenges for this image, let me just draw these in so you can see where the challenges would be, okay? Essentially, we've got hair, okay? And the hair is really, really fine. And then the other option we've got this chiffon material where it's only semi-see-through. So you might be getting some issues with that, but I can show you some little tricks that you can do with that as well. And then we've also got, because there's light coming from the side, what we might end up with, so let's zoom in here, is kind of a bit of a glow around her body, and we need to be careful of that. So with those three things in mind, let's jump in and do this. So we're going to start off by using the Magic Wand tool. We're going to set the tolerance at 50 because we've got all of this blue sky around us, so it's nice and simple. I'm just going to hit that, and it's going to make a pretty decent mask. I'm going to make sure I get inside these holes, just that one there. That for me is pretty good. It doesn't need to be any more perfect. So now we have this. Now I have this option of Refine Edge, and I can get that to that from any one of my different selection tools. It will always say Refine Edge. So we've got that. Let's click on it and let's see what we get. Well, now we get this little toolbar here. And this gives us loads of options. Now let's start at the top. The top is your view. So traditionally you're going to have this, which is called marching ants, which are all those little tiny dots. Now importantly, it only shows you a marching ant where there's 50% opacity has been selected, or 50% or more. So sometimes you only get a little tiny shading going on that's been selected. That won't happen with marching ants. You're not going to see that. The next one is overlay. That basically gives you it's like your quick mask. It's just going to turn it red. You can actually change your quick mask color if you want in your Photoshop options. You've got on black, so that shows what is not selected is black and what is selected is the regular color. Same thing on white, and then you've got black on white. So black is not selected, just like a layer mask, and white is selected. On layers, which means that anything that's not selected won't be showing, and anything that is selected is going to be on blue, and then you've just got reveal all, okay? So let's just come out of this, because what I want to do is I'm going to invert this selection. So to do that, I'm going to go Command Shift I, and what that's going to do, it's going to select the inside of her. So now when we go back in here, now we can see it's going to look slightly different because we're looking at what we've got selected. Okay, so there we are. That's really great. Now we're going to skip past edge detection. We're going to come back to that in a minute because it's really important. I want to quickly go over the Adjust Edge panel here. Now, a few options that we've got here. Let's jump in nice and close so that we can have a look over at this section of the image. Let's just move over here so we can see what happens here. Now, if I was to go smooth, basically any jaggedy edge that you have, it's essentially going to work on that, and you can see it's just going to smooth out those edges, basically making the lines nice and smooth. Now, a good place to actually look at that is if we come down here and we're going to zoom all the way, Command plus, and we're going to look down here. By adding smooth, it's added this corner in. It doesn't allow you to have sharp edges anymore. So if I do it even more, you see how smooth that is now? Whereas if I pull that back to 0, okay, you're going to see that's going to be a lot sharper of an edge. Now it's loading. It always takes a while to load because it's quite a complex selection that we've got going on. And let's see what it comes up with. Oh, it's because I didn't let go. And now you can see it's got a really nice sharp edge on that. So that's what that does. Feathering basically adds a fade into the mask, so the edge isn't as hard. So if we were to add this in like this, now we can see it's put a fade on that. A good way to see this one is black on white. You can see it's added this fade into there. So let's put that back to, in fact, we'll leave that up a little bit. Now you've got contrast. Essentially what that does is it makes the line even stronger. It makes a really hard line. That's essentially what that is doing there. The higher the contrast, the harder the line that we've got going on. And then you've got shift edge. Now let's go to a different look on this. Let's go on to the red one, so you can see here. Now if I'm going to shift this edge minus 100, it's going to pull my edge inside. Whereas if I go the other way, it's going to push it to the outside. Now, let's go for this view and you're going to see how this is going to help us or not. So what we can see here is we've kind of, like I mentioned before, we might end up with this white line. So if we were to set this at 0, let's see what effect it gives us. Now we do have a bit of a white line. So I can actually bring it down a little bit and it's going to pull that in and it's going to refine my mask and make it that little bit better for me. So that's really worked there. I've added a little bit of a feather on there just so that it's a little bit softer. Now, that's basically what that section does. So you can play around with those elements and different selections work differently. But the problem that we have with this image, so for example, look at this white line we have around this. We need to get rid of that. So I'm going to shift my edge in a little bit. That's going to be a lot. In fact, I've gone too far with that. Okay, so now let's come up here and we can see the hair is horrible. It's done a terrible job of this because I just used the magic wand, which is really quick. So now we have edge detection. Now what this does, Photoshop does an amazing job of detecting the edges for us. So if I turn on Smart Radius, it's now going to have a quick look at the image and it's going to look at the contrasty areas to figure this out. And I can actually move this. So this is the amount of pixels it looks in each direction of the edge to actually figure out where the best place is. Now, on a lot of that image, it's going to really work, but the hair, the pixels aren't close enough to the hair right now. So what we can do is we can take a brush and I can paint over the edge here. So watch what I'm doing. I'm just painting along that edge. And what it's going to do, it's going to look for any edge which exists. And you can see it's brought back those little flecks of hair. Now, because I've brought my edge in, the problem that I've got is it's now going to start disappearing bits of the hair, the same with the feathering. So you always have to be careful using these together. But let's whip around the outside where all this hair is and see what happens. It's going to actually detect the hair and it's going to put it back in for us. Now, this is a very complex thing when we're doing with hair, and there's some more advanced techniques that you can use for hair. I'm just going to show you, use this as kind of a quick tip on how to make selections better quickly. Okay, we're going to go there. We're actually going to paint over all of this here, and we can see what it's going to do. It's going to do a really good job, there you go, of doing that. Now, the edge detection, if I was to lift this up, it's going to search around a greater difference, and it's going to actually make those detection lines more definite. It's going to basically do a better job. There you go. I've gone too far with that because you see it's added like this haze, and that's the risk with using this Smart Radius. Sometimes it can add a real haze to your image. So be warned with that. Okay, so let me just zoom out, and I'm not going to do a very good job of this. because I just want to show you how this works. I'm going to go around a hair, and I'm going to paint all of this in, like so. And then we're going to watch it do a quick bit of work, and look at how amazing a job that has done. It is phenomenal. Now, let's zoom in here, and we can see that it's doing a really great job already down here. Now, I want to show you something really important for this area. Now, we can see that the selection has perfectly selected this out. Now, let me just come over here. Now, watch if I keep on this smart radius and edge detection, and if I paint over here, what you're going to see, you might think, well, it's going to make that selection better. It kind of is, but look at this haze that it's given. It actually does some averaging and different things in there. So if your selection is good, don't be using this, because now what we've actually got is it's not completely cut that out. So you want to be careful with that. That's what I would suggest doing anyway. So you see how we've got this bit of a radius going on here, around here, a bit of a glow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to boost my contrast. I'm actually going to pull it in a little tiny bit. And that's going to help me a lot there. Now, this is looking really good for me. I'm going to hit OK. We're going to work on this see-through material in a little time. But right now, I'm really happy with this. Now, sorry, let's go back into this and let's talk about this bottom section. Decontaminate colors, that means basically if there's a section where there's all pure red, for example, it will look for those reds and it will decontaminate it, making your edge better. Okay, so it's another little clever thing, but the output, this is what's important here, is you can output the selection to its own layer. You can have a brand new layer with its own mask or a new document or whatever. So for example, we're gonna go new layer with mask. Now when I hit OK on this, look what's happened. It's hidden the background layer for me. This is the background layer. And all it's done is it's created a mask for me. So I can option click on that and see my mask at any time. Now let's look at the hair. Fantastic. It's done really quite an amazing job with this. Now, if any point I might want to go in and alter this, all I have to do is come up to my properties panel, make sure that I have my mask selected and I have my mask edge, and I can click on this and I can go back in and make another refinement within there. So I can keep on refining this as many times as I want. So I'm pretty happy with this. It's done a good job. Now what we're going to do is going to give it a new background. So to do that, I'm going to use this image of New York. So we're just going to throw this in. Let me quickly extend this out. Now this isn't necessarily the image that I would use, but it's a good little fun project that we've got. So let's do this and then let's pop this in the background. Okay, so there we go. You can see it's done a pretty good job with the hair and it's already looking pretty realistic within this. But it has created a little bit of this ghosting effect, and that's what that smart radius does. Now, the next thing that we're going to look at here is this chiffon material. So you can see it's kind of see-through, and that can be a real challenge with an image. So the best way to do that is you come into Refine Mask. This is what I suggest anyway. You select out those areas, so you might be able to use the quick selection tool. It's done a pretty good job there. I'm just going to go over these areas like so. And it's going to, there you go. So I've just selected those. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come with a brush tool and I'm going to just make this very light like this. Make sure it's set to black so it's going to actually paint it out. And all I'm going to do is paint over that area. And you can see by keeping a low opacity, what it's doing is it's just getting rid of enough of that. I don't want to get rid of all of it, but you can see now what's happening. By doing that, deselect Command D, we've now brought in these buildings. So as we come out, this is now see-through for what we see behind. And let's look at our layer mask. By option clicking, we can see what we've just added in there. Really quite powerful. Final thing we're going to do, because this image does not blend in any way at all right now, we're going to go filter, we're going to go blur. I'm going to add a Gaussian blur to this. So I'm just going to blur out that background like so. I'm not doing a very good job of this, but just so that you get the picture. I really like what that's happened. And then I'm going to bring all of the colors together on this. So to bring in the colors, I'll add a photo filter, like so. So that's brought in that photo filter. And now I'm going to go for a color balance. And I'm essentially going to add kind of a, what's it called? A split tone effect. So I'm going to add some blues and stuff to my shadows. And then to my highlights, I'm going to add some reds and yellows like so. So I've kind of split toned the image, which means that the shadows here are now matching the shadows there by doing this. And I can actually see that this is way too contrasty for the one below. So what I'll do with this one is I'm going to go in to my brightness and contrast, pull down my contrast, but I'm going to clip that just to my layer below. Now, let's zoom out, and we can see, let's turn on the background, the before and the after, we've managed to cut her out and put her on a brand new background, and it looks pretty good, considering it only took me a few minutes. That there is how to use the Refine Mask or Refine Edge tool inside Photoshop. I definitely recommend practicing with this one. And also, if you have my Photoshop training course, you can use these images because they're inside the pack and you can practice as much as you like to see what effect you can have with this. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up, drop me a comment for your thoughts, and also subscribe to my channel because I've got loads more videos coming in the future. This was Ed Gregory for photosincolor.com theme tune.